The IXE-10 is it's manufactured in our factory in Kongsberg in Norway. And at the show we're showing a table that's been out on the market for 3 or 4 years. But here we're showing it with full automation. So we're feeding from a stacker and actually offloading converted and finished product. Traditionally the table's been aimed at the packaging market, but what we're showing here today is a table that is aimed at the general jobbing printers, people who are printing everyday product. So as you'll notice on the table, there are 3 elements to the process. The first one is that the camera, the iCut camera, will look for the registration points, which it's doing now. And once it's found out where all the registration points are, it knows its starting point for the creasing, and the creasing wheel comes down, and it's now creasing. In this case, it's a small folded carton box, but it could be business cards, it could be embossing, it could even be an A4 leaflet. And now you'll see it, once it's finished creasing, you'll see the knife blade come down, and it's following the cutting profile from our file, which is just a standard CAD profile, and it will cut the sheet out as quickly as possible. It optimizes the way of cutting, so if there are any very small areas to be cut, it will leave those to last so that everything can hold together in the best possible way. Now it advances, moves on to the next sheet, checks registration, and then you'll see the creasing wheel come down again, and it will start creasing, followed by the cutting. The major benefit of it is that it's die-less finishing. So you don't need to buy a die in to chop out a creative shape within a general piece of print. But because there's no dies, it means that you can go out to the market and quote for standard jobs, even if it's an A4 leaflet, and actually involve a creative shape, cutting a logo out into the design, taking a corner off, and really giving a general print job added value. We constantly get asked where the break-even point is, where you go to conventional finishing from the digital finishing from the Kongsberg. And it's a difficult question to answer. It all depends on the type of design, whether or not you're making dies in-house or not. If you're going out for dies, then the break-even point jumps up quite a lot. The sheet size of the Kongsberg table is 720 by 660, and it can take, if you're working on an A3 job, you're going to be looking at 600 sheets an hour. So we run 2 A3s side by side, so that way we can optimize the machine and get the jobs out very quickly. So if the customer's printing on something like a Zycon or a HP digital press, it really comes into its own, because digital printing, the quantities are lower and the table's there. But the other thing, because we're cutting conventionally, we don't have some of the restrictions of die making. Dies cannot stamp out some fine intricate work. You would need to go to something more complicated like laser cutting. What we're doing with the Kongsberg, where we're cutting with a knife, is a lot more flexible than conventional die making. The table has an auto-loading system. For 4 or 5 years now we've sold the table without auto-loaders. The table bed is larger than the loading system we have on it, but we decided for this market that footprint was very critical. And if we had this full sheet size for the loading and unloading, we would have a table 3 times the footprint it is today. So we've designed the loader to work optimally for the sheet size for the commercial print market. The loader and unloader is actually designed by our company in the States, which is part of the MG product range, and they've developed loaders and unloaders for the sign display market for the past 10 years. This allows us now to take that expertise and bring it into the commercial print market, and this table today is the first time we've shown it in public at IPEX. I was talking to some visitors to IPEX, and they were from just a general trade finishers. And they walked on the stand, had a look at the Kongsberg table, and as they, after we'd finished presenting to them, explaining what it did, they, as they walked off, one of the guys said to his colleague, "That's probably the best bit of equipment we're going to see here at the show," which I was quite pleased to hear that.